Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play FTL, Faster Than Light. This is another episode of post-commentary because my audio file for this disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. I know I recorded it for a fact because I was being really careful about that because of the last one that didn't record. I have no fucking idea what happened to it and I'm sad about it. But anyway, we're trying out the Nisasio here, the stealth cruiser. This is going to be an interesting episode of post-commentary because unlike last time, this is not fresh in my mind at all. This was recorded over a day ago, so I don't really know what is going on exactly. I'm kind of checking out the stats of this ship. It starts out with 4 engines but no shields, as well as a cloaking device. The main difference, and also its 2 weapons are kind of garbage. We've got this. In a second, I'm sure I'll mouse over them, but the mini beam and the dual laser. Which is, the mini beam is like, it's like a little tiny pike beam. It only does 1 damage per room, and it's very, very short. And the dual laser, on the other hand, is exactly what you would expect. It's like a burst laser that only shoots 2, and they're both very cheap little weapons. We also have this titanium system casing, which protects ship systems from damage, but still allows hull damage to get through, so that's pretty neat. And of course the long-range scanners, which allow us to see what is happening in adjacent beacons. So we're going to rename these assholes. I don't remember what I named them, so let's find out. Pilotius. Yep. And oh yeah, and every single time here I forget that I have to hit enter instead of just clicking on the accept button. So we're naming this guy Weaponia. And of course this is to make it clear what room they belong in. Oh yeah, and this is pretty stupid. So I renamed Matt to McShields. And as I did that, I forgot that I don't have a shield system on this ship, you fool. So McShields ends up being in charge of engines instead, ironically enough. So now I'm checking out the beams. I'm talking about stuff in all the wrong order. I don't remember what I was talking about during this time, but I think I've covered all the important bases. So the big challenge with the stealth cruiser is it has no shields, which makes surviving out in the cold grip of space very difficult, because obviously with no shields, especially beam weapons, will just fuck your day up. So we start out in a nebula here, and for a second I was like, what? We don't have sensors, but yeah, we do have sensors. In fact, we start with bar 2 of sensors, which allows us to see what's going on the enemy ship as well as on our own. So we're going to send these guys to their posts. I'm going to realize in a second that McShields is an ill-named companion here. Oh yeah, and for a second I'm like, oh, we'll just put him in this empty room because there's nothing for him to do. No, put him on the engines, you dangus. And of course we'll keep Pilotius on the pilot seat. And we'll move onward. Keep in mind that I kind of can't read a lot of this because it's in the preview window of Sony Vegas. There's probably a better way to do it than this, but I don't know, lazy. And this method works. So we are going to be fighting this rebel ship right off the bat. So right away, use cloaking. The way cloaking works in this game is you can use cloaking and then it has a cooldown. And when you use cloaking, it depends on how high your cloaking device power is. But with 1 bar, you get cloaked for 5 seconds, and during that time, your stuff, and there's our tiny little beam, during that time, your weapons charge and the enemy's weapons do not charge. So it's basically a head start on charging weapons, which is perfectly nice. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how many rooms can we hit here, and I'm pretty sure I actually do manage to get all 4 of those rooms. Yeah, there it is. The weapons, the drone control, the shields, as well as that empty systemless room, for a pretty substantial amount of damage, because, you know, oh, and there's the engines resisting an attack because of our titanium system casing, which is pretty nice. So I forget to use my cloaking a lot, and I'm sure we can be frustrated about that together in this episode, because it's something extra to think about that I've never had to think about before, so I'm still really garbage at it. So I'm trying to draw this laser just right so it hits all 4 rooms again. Even though it's not really necessary, we know for a fact they're going down if we hit 2 rooms. But, you know, it's good to be rigorous. Is that the right word? The word I'm thinking of? It's good to have rigor in our high standards. I don't know. So there's a breach in our engine room that they managed to pull off like right in their dying breath. So I send another dude in there to help fix the breach before they suffocate. And then the engines go back, no problem. I send them to the med bay because why not? And of course turn on the med bay as well. So the thing with this ship is that you want to get your engines upgraded instead of your shields pretty quickly, because the extra evasion you get is essential. Though, again, it's not useful against beam weapons at all. So if you are fighting a guy with a beam weapon, your best bet with the stealth ship is to stay cloaked a lot and run the fuck away. I think it's a little bit of an oversight. What you can do is buy a shield system. That's super expensive. So until then, you're on your own. So I think the stealth ship is going to be one of those ships where it's pretty easy to just die early on. I'm going to try to bring some of these creatures on board to sell, because I've never seen that tried or tried it myself, and they fucking killed one of my guys, and I was like, come on. But luckily it was Mick Engines, or sorry, Mick Shields on the engine, so his confusing name was gone at least. But on the downside, losing 33% of your crew in the very first sector is a really severe disadvantage. So again, we're going to fight this rebel ship, and our first goal is going to be turn on the cloaking device. Anytime now. Past me. Yep, there we go. Turn on the cloaking device, wait for our weapons to power up. And then, let's see, knowing what I know now, my strategy would probably be to burst laser the weapons, or dual laser the weapons, I should say, and then use the beam to hit the oxygen, the engines, and the shields. But we'll see what I decide to do here. Right now I'm pausing to... oh, of course, they invaded our ship. So I'm figuring out that that little area in the middle of the screen, if you can see that, is actually, like, a way off the ship. At first I was like, fuck. Like, the only way off to get oxygen off of the ship is to open a path of doors all the way to right next to the pilot. But that's not the case. So we actually have 2 airlocks. But they're not totally convenient either. I wish there were some airlocks in the back of the ship, let's put it that way. But yeah, because I haven't upgraded my blast doors yet, this is actually a terrible situation for us, because, and right now I'm just trying to flush him into our med bay, but he's having none of it. He's just going for our sensors. So I'm going to try to flush him out of there by closing those doors and then opening up a path for the oxygen to get into the cloaking room. And yeah, so the reason he's such a problem is because we only have 2 crew members, and if we take our pilot off of his station, that means we lose all of our evade chance, and with no shields and no evade chance, game over, man. You have no chance of negating any attacks from the enemy whatsoever. So the guy in the pilot is not at all a luxury. He is absolutely necessary for this run. So meanwhile, this guy on our ship can basically do whatever the fuck he wants, and eventually I'm just like, you know what, fuck it, just get in there, fight him in the weapons room, and hopefully, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Just like, yeah, open some doors, why not? I don't know. Yeah, get in the weapons room to fight him, because that's our only chance. He's missing some health, so our guy should be able to beat him in combat, no problem at this point. But yeah, if our weapons go down, we're in huge trouble. So I am going to be, yep, doing exactly what I said earlier. Laser the weapons and beam everything else. They're 1 away. They just took their guy back on board, which is great news for us, because now we don't have to worry about him on our ship, and he was by far the biggest threat of this this run. Though the fact that they can hit us with impunity because we have, oh god, that's terrible. That's right. Okay, just hit them quick before the weapons burn enough that they can't do that. Okay, excellent. Just barely made it too. Look at that. The fire took out our weapons completely right after they died, and that could have actually been the end of our run, or at least the end of a significant amount of our hull, as we tried to fix that the weapons quickly enough to do some damage to them before they got their shields back up, which would have been just an absolute disaster. Anyway, we're just letting these fires go out. Really need to upgrade to blast doors as soon as possible, because that fire wouldn't have spread to that other room. Not that it mattered here, but it's just, it says something about my setup here. So we're going to take the pilot off of his station to come and fix the weapons, while other dude fixes the sensors. And in a little bit, they will be done with that. So our top priority right now, I think, is going to be blast doors. Though, who knows what past me is thinking, right? We can be surprised together, but that's what I would be doing right now. look at that. Great minds think alike, right? So he went straight for the blast doors like the smart cookie he is. And that is going to help us out pretty substantially with invaders in the future, which is especially important with only 2 crew members, one of which absolutely cannot leave the pilot room under any circumstances. I dislike relying so heavily on engines for defense just because it's so easy to take out a pilot seat. Like one stray missile into the pilot seat can totally take it offline, and until that is fixed, all of your defense is gone. That's one reason I dislike relying on evasion. The other one, like I said, beams will fuck you. And, yeah, lasers too, really. Like, shields do a substantial amount to take laser damage down. I think more than engines do. Because if you have enough shields, they can't even hit you. But, evade chance is fine as well. It's not bad, it's just I don't think it's quite as good as shields. But I don't think the cloaking device really makes up for it on this ship, if I'm perfectly honest. I have heard that if you do 2 of the achievements with the stealth ship and unlock the second layout for it, that layout starts with a glaive beam, which is one of the most powerful weapons in the entire game. Which, if that's true, that is fucked up, but I want it. So, in the future, expect me to be looking out for that. I still have to check what those achievements are, but yeah, we'll be working on that in the future, because I would love to be able to start with a glaive beam. That is insane, if true. It's probably worth starting without shields at that point. They tried really hard to take out our engines there, which was a good call by them, and it's really good for us that our that missile missed, or we could have been in serious trouble. So again, our sort of goal here is use the dual laser to take their shields offline, and then while they're vulnerable, use the beam. Even though that is like the cheapest, worst beam in the game, like explicitly it tells you that in the description, it is still pretty goddamn powerful if the enemy's shields are down. Like at this point in the game, doing 3 or 4 damage with 1 hit is pretty goddamn good, to be perfectly honest, and the fact they can't evade it is great. I really like beams. Beams are probably my favorite type of weapon in the game. And that's because they're super powerful, which is part of why I dislike so much being in a ship that is so vulnerable to them. Because if they're my favorite weapon to use, they're probably my least favorite weapon to be hit by. Though luckily, at least, the enemies don't tend to use their beams super effectively. They don't really think about how to maximize the number of rooms they can hit, nor how to maximize the system damage they do. Which I think is probably balanced, because if they did like intelligently aim their weapons, this game would be impossibly hard. So we did check out the giant spiders there, did I? And for a second I thought I lost another dude, but I didn't. That would have been awful. I'm not really sure why I decided to do that. I might have misread, it's possible. I've got some small text going on here, like I said, because of the preview window in Sony Vegas. So we are fighting another ship. And, we really need to get to a store to start fixing our hull, because... And of course, first thing we're going to do, turn on our cloaking, but yeah, because... we get hit so goddamn often, because basically whenever we're not cloaked, we're just a sitting duck with no shield. No shield is I know I'm harping on this, but it's a huge disadvantage. So we did manage to get their stuff offline enough to pull off a pretty sweet little 4 damage mini beam there. And also damaged 3 systems. That's what's so great about the beams. You can damage so many systems at once with 1 attack, which really scatters them, and unless they have a ton of crew, like this ship happens to, they're going to have to prioritize what they fix, and inevitably something important is going to be left down. So again, just pull off the same exact attack here. Looks like I left it a little bit too long since both things were green, but their shields are fully offline, so we can beam them again. And they took out our cloaking. They take out our cloaking surprisingly often, which is probably good. Not because it's like not bad for us, but because I'm not fucking using my cloaking device effectively anyway. Again, I'm just constantly forgetting that it exists. Yeah, so Waponia is gonna fix the cloaking. Send their pilot to the medbay because he is fucked right now. Well, not fucked, but he was at like half health, which is pretty bad. You don't want your guys sitting around at half health if a missile pops into their room, or if invaders happen to come attack them. You want them to be in good condition. So it's always important, I find, at the end of a fight to make sure all of your crew are at least over 90. So we did hop onto the next sector, this Inji controlled sector. And we are looking at upgrades. We could upgrade our engines for a little bit more evade, in fact 5% more evade, and I decide against it because, well, I'm assuming, I don't really know what I was thinking at the time, but my reasoning is we need that fucking scrap to repair, and I assume that's what Past Me was thinking as well. So we can just go straight into this storage facility with our cloaking device, and I try it out. And we can just pop right in there, get 12 scrap at a small bomb. Might have been good to attack the automated ship, especially since they're not usually too hard, but the issue with that is, of course, that we are very low on health, so we want to kind of avoid fights if at all possible. He gave us a small bomb, or the storage cache gave us a small bomb, which is, it takes a missile and it teleports a bomb directly into a system room and hurts the system without actually doing any hull damage, which is just okay, but oh, that's another thing. You gotta spend a ton of money on this ship to upgrade your weapons. You only start out with 2 bars of weapons, which is nothing. So I pop it in there just in case, like, you know, because I'm never going to be able to power up the Hermes, so we might as well use the weapon slot for something else. I'm not thinking it's going to be totally valuable, but if we ever get into a situation where, like, I'm incapable of damaging a ship because their shields are too strong, we could power off the beam and power up the small bomb to hit their shields once, and then start charging the beam, which might be a good decision. We did get an anti-ship drone and some more scrap. The anti-ship drone, not super important since we don't have a drone control unit, and we've got more important things to buy now, like potentially shields. So this guy is trading, and he has a shields unit. Oh my god, can I buy it? So we're gonna sell all of our shit. And if we sell the Hermes, we're 1 scrap short, which is like, oh, come on. So what I end up deciding on is sell everything, including the small bomb. Then we can pick up shields. Almost accidentally bought the crew teleporter, which would have been fucking devastating. But yeah, so we actually got a shield system, which is super lucky. Not something I expect to see on every stealth cruiser run at all. But of course, now we have no power to buy more power bars, or no scrap to buy more power bars. So we just took a couple off the engine in order to power the shields for now. Later on, we're going to try to buy more power bars as quickly as possible so we can have our engines up as well, because of course, dodge chance is not to be underestimated. I am looking at how much it costs to upgrade the shield, just the same as normal, same as the Kestrel, cheap at first and more expensive later on. I was worried that we might be in the situation where it's like, since you bought this unit instead of having it natively, it was like 100 scrap to upgrade or something. But yeah, we can choose to fight this Mantis or cloak to stay hidden. And it looks like we... Oh yeah, that's right, because they have a crew teleporter. And I really didn't want to try to fight Mantis invaders with essentially 1 human who's able to fight. Because again, if we take the pilot off of his seat, we are going to be torn the fuck apart. So we're going to head onward here. And look for the ship in the asteroid field. Sounds like a good call. And we get a stasis pod. We could take a weapon and some spare scrap, but I've been told that the stasis chamber is involved in some kind of quest. So I am interested in picking up the stasis chamber. And we got that as well as 12 scrap. It takes up an augment slot, even though it doesn't actually do anything. But what I've been told is if you take that to the Zoltans, who are doing their research on FTL travel, and stasis sleep, then they will do something special with it and maybe like create a quest for us or something. Maybe unlock a new ship. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I just know it's a quest related thing. We walked right into their trap. So we have to fight these rebels. Not a terrible deal, especially now that we have shields. This is way the fuck easier. So we're going to use our cloaking device to charge up our weapons as much as possible. They are invading us, which is always a huge pain in the ass. Invasions are so shitty in this ship. Or not in this ship, but with only 2 crew members. It's pretty garbage. So we're going to try to flood this guy out of the engines. Please don't damage the engines too much. Though, of course, it's nice because even if he did manage to damage the engines, we're not using the top 2 bars anyway, so he would have had to damage it 3 times before he actually affected our effective evade chance. Affected our effective. I like that. Using grammar. Alright, so this guy's starving to death, trying to blast his way into the med bay. Or not starving, suffocating. Which is good news for us. And meanwhile, we're going to be attacking their weapons to try to stop them from hurting us. We lit them on fire with the dual laser. That is lucky as hell. Light a lot of fires with this setup, I find. Both the laser and the beam have a pretty high chance of creating fire. So that guy just teleported back onto his ship, and that is fine with me. They want to offer me a plea bargain. I probably should have taken that. That was pretty good, but I guess I figured maybe I could get a little bit more scrap out of him. I was wrong. We got a pretty small amount of rewards for killing them, unfortunately, but you never know. But in hindsight, yeah, I probably should have just taken the plea bargain. And we will head onward. We could go to the store. I'm not sure if I decide to or not. It would probably be a dumb idea. I'm thinking with the benefit of hindsight and not having to be playing right now. Just because we don't really have the scrap for it. Yeah, we're just going to buy a power bar, which is a great decision, and head onward. That power bar is worth another 5% chance to evade, which is pretty good. And this is just an empty beacon. We'll head onward to distress call, and then we'll probably jump straight to the exit. And take a little drink here. There's the giant alien spiders. Oh yeah, I remember what I was thinking now. When I tried to help the first time, I was like, this run is already fucked. We just need to take any possible chance of advantage we have. That time, I was like, okay, things are going great except for our lack of fucking crew members, so we'd better play it cautious, don't risk any crew members, because that's the only thing that could really fuck us up at this point. Because now we have a pretty strong setup, now that we have shields on the stealth ship. So we don't necessarily want to mess that up. They do have a beam drone attacking us, which means it's a great thing that we managed to get shields, because otherwise that guy would be a huge pain in the ass. Though beam drones don't strike me as very good, just because they almost never attack two rooms at once. Like, it's usually just like a beam that attacks one room, and if that's the case, it's way better to have a laser than a beam, because then you can, you know, then it takes down shields at least. This guy does nothing unless our shields are down already, because he doesn't take down shields himself with his beam. Again, we're not going to accept surrender here. That was a pretty bad offer. And we did get a little bit more for killing them. So let's check out our ship. Yes, a good idea past me. Get another bar of power for another 5% evade chance, which is always great. And let us head on to the next sector, because otherwise the rebels will catch us. So we're going to head to the NG homeworlds. Again, isn't that where we just were? I believe we were, yeah. So more NGs. And I don't know what I'm thinking right now. I'm just kind of watching along with you guys. We're probably going to hide from this guy because, again, they have a teleporter. We cannot afford to lose crew members. And mantises versus one human would be a terrible match. So these guys want to bribe us to stay out of it. And I believe I end up taking it just because we need the fuel desperately. And, do I? Come on, pass me, make your mind up. Yeah, we're going to take it because 3 fuel when you only have 5 is a pretty big deal that will allow us to not run out of fuel later on potentially. And who knows what we would have gotten for interfering there. We might not have gotten as much fuel, and we certainly would have taken damage, almost certainly anyway. I was just checking how much you sell the stasis pod for. It was 15. It's pretty bad for, you know, some guy who's asleep in a cryogenic pod. So that should be worth at least 20. So anyway, we're just going to buy standard stuff there. We really needed the fuel, so we bought some. And these guys are immediately going to try to take that fuel from us. And I do end up giving it to them because I think I can survive on 7. And they ended up paying us a pretty substantial amount of scrap compared to what I paid for it. So that was a great deal as long as we don't run out of fuel later on. Which, who knows if that happens. So we're going to upgrade our shields a little bit, mostly like not to power them up, but just to have that extra little buffer there so that if our shields get damaged once, our entire like shields don't go down, because this is not a great place to be with 1 bar of shields. By this point in the game you kind of want to. So we are going to use one of our scanners to scan this research station, try to find people. I didn't really know which one to choose. I just chose the first one. And we have a chance between save the Inji and save the drone schematic, which strikes me as a funny choice. But obviously in this situation, we're going to save the Inji because we need another crew member desperately. So this guy is going to man our shields for us, and that will be great. I almost put him on the engines, but I was like, nah, shields. So having an Inji on board is always awesome, even when you aren't like desperate for crew members, because this guy, of course, is pretty effective at doing repairs. And yeah, it's almost essential to have an Inji or two on your crew by the time you get to the lake places, so you actually have a chance of repairing stuff in a timely fashion so you can get back to combat. No, we're going to carefully cut the ship out, which is always the best decision there. Usually when you have a blue choice, you should probably take it. He did give us a pretty substantial amount of stuff, so I'm thinking, can I get enough power bars to have another bar of shields? Not quite. But if I do that, then I power down the engines once, power up our shields. 2 bars of shields for only 1 or 5% less dodge chance is a good deal. But as soon as possible, we're going to try to get another power bar to again get those engines powered up. And we will move onward. Alright, these guys need assistance, so we're going to help them. And we have a Mantis ship with a teleporter, which is fucking bad. But at least now we have our 2 bars of shield, so we're in a pretty good situation here between our cloaking device and our shields. And speaking of cloaking device, I should definitely use that right now. Right? Any time past me. Okay, I'm just thinking about what to target. Doesn't really matter because they're not gonna hit. Like, we need to hit with both lasers to get their shields down, and then we're just gonna be beaming. But the none of the lasers have a chance of actually penetrating. So use your cloaking device, you idiot. There we go. Use the cloaking device, not before they manage to board the ship. 1 human and 1 Inji versus 2 Mantises is a bad matchup for us. But we are going to try to... Oh wait, is that only 1 Mantis? I think it is only 1 Mantis. So we're going to start starving the area of oxygen, and in the meantime hold this guy off from attacking the weapons. And then I'm listening intently here. Not now, but at the time I was listening intently for the beeping that means that somebody's about to die, and then we'll just pull him out. And there it is. Get that guy out of there. Turn on the med bay, you fool. Cool, the Mantis actually left the ship, which is great for us, because if he had been able to damage our weapons at all, essentially, then we would have been in a situation where we were literally incapable of damaging their ship until we got the weapons fixed, which is never a good place to be. Because if you aren't capable of punching through their shields at all, then that just means they can get all of their systems online at once and completely fuck your day up. So we're going to, again, try to get some beaming done here. We can hit 4 systems at once here, including their pilot, which is great. Because when their pilot is offline, that means they can't dodge, which means we're guaranteed to get our next beam shot off unless they can fix that on time. And we're getting these guys back to their stations now that they're fully healed. Again, you don't want to leave somebody at super low health, even like accepting the chance of boarding, because just a stray missile or something can kill them, which is awful. You really don't want your crew to just randomly go down. And we are going to try to hit the shields room this time, which is maybe something I should have thought of sooner, but it doesn't matter, they died. And they only did 1 hull damage to us, which is kind of surprising. So we are going to have our Inji crew give them some kind of number protocol thing, which I don't think we're supposed to understand what that means. It's just the ability of the Inji to kind of talk their language. And as a reward for that, they're going to give us a heavy laser Mark 1, which is great, as well as some scrap, which is always welcome, and a quest marker. So they gave us the location of a hidden base that we can visit. They might be able to help us out further. And we will move on. I really want to be able to power up that heavy laser as well. So our next goal is going to be to get our get another bar of power and another bar of weapons, so that we can have 3 weapons online at once, which is super important because you know, as you get further in the game, it gets harder and harder to damage ships at all. After you reach a certain point, it becomes impossible with certain weapon loadouts to damage certain ships, and we're getting dangerously close to that right now. Again, we're just gonna Are we going to cloak around? Nah, I'm going to attack it. I'm going to attack it, right? Look at how weak he is. This guy's going to be no problem whatsoever. So even if we do, by some freak chance, take like a whole damage or two, probably worth it for whatever this guy drops. Which is usually, like, not substantial, but it's something. And with only 1 bar of shields, he is kind of up shit creek here. And we can just... I can almost get pilot shields weapons, which would be awesome. But I think what I end up having to do is weapons pilot shields. Which is fine. That's going to make it impossible for them to dodge any future attacks. Which is fine by me. We'll also light the engines on fire. Though the problem is... automated ships don't have any oxygen in them, so the fire went out very quickly. It's an advantage of being an automated ship. They're kind of immune to fire damage. Not really immune. So we're going to laser the weapons so they stop doing damage to us, and in the meantime we're just going to beam them so that they will die. Which was super easy, like I predicted. Took 1 whole damage, got 20 scrap, which is like not substantial, but it's better than not making that trade for sure. And we got some more scrap as well as a drone that we can sell. We're going to upgrade our weapons, and then we need 1 more scrap to get a power bar to power them up. So in the meantime, I think if I'm smart anyway, I'm going to power down the engines 1, power up the weapons 1, and that's going to let us take out enemy ships way faster, which is great. And in the future might allow us to take out a ship that we otherwise would have been helpless against. So we got some free stuff from that rebel base. I was kind of expecting like a quest or something, some kind of epic journey, or maybe something great from there, but nah, they just gave us some generic supplies. But hey, 30 scrap, 3 fuel in this situation is nothing to complain about at all. So we're going to get that next power bar pretty much immediately, so that we can power up our weapons and engines fully at the same time. And we're doing pretty decently here for where we are in the game. I think we got a shot on this run. Maybe not to beat the final boss, but maybe to get back to that final sector at least. But of course it all depends on what happens in the future. So we are going to have our NG crews say stuff to them. And they're giving us, I believe this is the same quest as we did to unlock the stealth cruiser. Which is odd. I wouldn't think we'd be able to get that quest again. But hey, we're going to try to do it again anyway. Right now we do have to fight the rebels because I spent too much time getting to that quest beacon, unfortunately. So first thing we're going to do is cloak, and our primary goal here is stalling. So we're going to send a guy into the engine room so our FTL drive charges a little bit faster. And our primary goal here is just to stop these guys from doing too much damage to us while we escape. So with that end in mind, I think I'm going to try to pummel away at their weapons, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, dual laser, everything on weapons, good call. And then afterwards we'll be able to go ahead and laser them, causing significant damage and also forcing them to focus on fixing the oxygen instead of attacking me, which is great. And basically our goal here, like, we could kill this ship probably, it would have a chance of damaging us, though actually with those, I think it has 2 beams, which is not good for them. So they can't really damage us too effectively, which is really lucky for us. But there's no point in spending time trying to kill them when they could potentially do damage to us, because our drop will be like 1 fuel, because it says that you don't have time to salvage anything, you just have to fucking get out of there. So we are just going to jump immediately here rather than paying attention to our weapons at all, because why bother? So now we have to go on to a nebula. It's slug controlled. I don't think I've ever been to a slug controlled nebula before. If I have, it's quite a while ago, so we'll see if we can find anything interesting here. And I think this is where I decided to end the episode, so thank you guys very much for watching this FTL. Sorry it's post-commentated again. I know people hate this shit, but sometimes you can't help it. Anyway, see you guys next time.